I had no idea that this was a growing problem. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate your continued support, and I hope that you are subscribed as well, particularly if you are watching on Rumble, because we do need to support platforms that support free speech. So I know that with all the things that I talk about pretty regularly, that kids today are dealing with a lot. Like, kids are far more isolated than they used to be. They're more disconnected from their peers than they used to be and from society. And I think in large part that has to do with our dependence on technology. And it's such a huge part of their lives specifically in a way that I don't think any of us could have imagined when we were kids. I mean, I remember when I was a kid and, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I had heard of this notion of being able to have a screen in front of you and actually be able to see the person that you are talking on the phone with. And that concept just kind of blew my mind. Like, I couldn't figure out how you could make that work. I couldn't figure out the logistics of it. Like, would they need a camera? Would they need a specific kind of phone? Like, the idea and the thought of where technology would evolve to was so far beyond my comprehension that, I could have never imagined that it would become this prevalent in our lives and, to this level of dependency. And I do think that kids are feeling the effects of that. It's not just about the dependence on the technology, but what technology gives them access to, which is to see pretty much every single thing that is going on in the world. And they can see that constant turmoil. And that is having an effect on them. They also, they're going to school and they're having their academic experience hijacked by people that truly believe that activism is a more important part of education than actually getting an education. And I know, it's also become pretty much the standard for both parents to be working outside the home. So kids are having to manage a lot on their own without parental guidance. So there's all of these things going on that kids just really are dealing with and that are contributing to, their lack of ability to thrive and to succeed and to grow and develop in the way that we would just expect them to. And I think a lot of times we don't realize how much they truly need to be guided into a productive adult experience. We just kind of expect it to happen. I think there are different areas that all of us kind of struggle in. I know that my kids play a lot more video games than I would like them to. We do make the effort to shut off the video games and make them do something, whether it be, play with their siblings or go outside or do something as a family. So we do make that effort. And I know none of us are perfect. So I'm not judging anyone. I'm just pointing out, the fact that sometimes it's hard to recognize that the world that our kids are growing up in is so vastly different than how a lot of us grew up, and, to recognize the impact that it's having. So that's the only point I'm making. However, with all of the things that they are dealing with, this is not something that I expected to be an issue. And it really does make me wonder what the heck some people are doing with their kids these days. So let me read this headline to you. It says, "Teachers fed up with 11-year-old kids wearing diapers to school. Worrying trend." That's right. There is a growing trend of kids as old as 11 years old going to school wearing diapers. So the article starts out, "If your kid knows how to play on an iPad, then they should know how to use the loo." I can't argue with that point. It goes on to say, "Teachers in Switzerland are complaining about too many students wearing diapers in class because they don't know how to use the toilet. Kids are going to school as early as 4 years old now, so yeah, you might actually find some still in diapers." Dagmar Rosler, head of Swiss Federation of Teachers, told the Swiss newspaper 20 Minuten. When 11-year-olds come to school in diapers, that's a worrying trend. Many tots have become so accustomed to wearing diapers that they lose interest in transitioning out of the convenient but unsanitary method. The average age to potty train children is between 18 months and 24 months, according to Mayo Clinic, but many parents seem to be avoiding the training session. Some parents let it slide because diapers are a convenient relief. It's not seen as a problem these days, said educational scientist Margaret Stamm. that sends a totally wrong message. Kids wearing diapers in school has skyrocketed, child development expert Rita Mesmer told this name of a Swedish newspaper that I can't pronounce, revealing she had an 11-year-old patient who wasn't taught how to use the toilet on their own. The children's lack of knowledge becomes a burden for many teachers who have to assist students with soaked diapers. So let's just take a break for a second here. First of all, ew. Second of all, I follow a lot of teachers and I listen to the experiences that they're having in their classrooms where kids just seem to really be struggling to even function. They're struggling to focus. They're struggling to manage their emotions. They seem to not even be able to live without a phone in their hands. And now teachers have to deal with these older kids not even being potty trained. Like, what is going on? Like, I know parents are busy, but seriously? I remember when probably later in 2020, early 2021, when the pandemic really started to subside and everyone was trying to figure out when to reopen schools and whether or not kids should be back in the classroom. And I remember several Zoom meetings of teachers discussing this issue being exposed, and they were complaining because they were just accusing parents of wanting to get their babysitter back and parents just wanting someone else to be responsible for their kids so that they didn't have to be. And I was super irritated when I heard these Zoom meetings, and I was offended by it because I send my kids to school to get an education. I definitely do not expect teachers to be a parent to my children. In fact, that is something that I am, adamantly standing against, is these teachers that think that they do or that they should have more of a role in children's lives and more authority over children than their own parents do. So, I don't consider teachers to be a babysitter, and I definitely do not want teachers infringing on the roles of parents, which, that role is to teach my children to be kind, to give them moral guidance, to teach them how to treat others, to give them responsibility, and numerous other things. Those things are my job as a parent. It's the teacher's job to teach them math and reading and writing and science and spelling. Among my job is to potty train them. This shouldn't even be an issue. However, I am starting to see why so many teachers were making comments like that. There are far too many parents who do rely on teachers to literally raise their children, to teach them how to have table manners and to teach them how to say please and thank you and to teach them not to hit or harm other people. And now they're expected to teach them to use the freaking bathroom. So then, I got halfway through the article and I was like, well, is this only happening in Switzerland? But of course not. It goes on to say, while the problem is rampant in Switzerland, reports have emerged from Buffalo, New York, that parents there have failed to teach their children how to use the toilet. Teacher aides here say that it's not their responsibility to change diapers. Phil Rumor, president of the Buffalo Teachers Federation, told WBUR in 2019, faculty have lost their patience regarding soiled diapers and parents who are unwilling to teach their kids. There is no policy in place or procedure in place to work with the child to either potty train them, to clean them when they have an accident, Rumor said. The teacher can't do it because it takes away from the class. And it's not their job. And it's disgusting. And it does go on to say that some of these cases are regarding children who have physical and mental disabilities, which we can make an exception for. I am not putting those kids in the same category of kids who have absolutely no reason to not be potty trained other than their parent just being lazy. And I don't think this article would be written if those were the vast majority of the cases that we're talking about here. This is happening with kids who have no reason to be wearing diapers other than their own parents being too lazy and too detached from their own child to do with them what they need to do. So I know that I have talked about this point, at least, in a roundabout way or a direct way in several videos, but I honestly believe that society has drastically shifted in our culture when it comes to how we view human beings, and even with how parents view their own children. It's like we believe that the environment that kids are raised in doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much time we spend with our children or how we guide them or who we allow into their world or whether or not they know that they matter to us. Just being in the room with your child is not enough. And I have to remind myself of this at times too. When my daughter wants me to sit down with her and watch a cartoon that I find absolutely mind-numbing and that I have absolutely no interest in, I can either sit down with her and just be there as this warm body sitting next to her while I look at my phone the whole time, or I can put my phone down and hold her in my lap and watch the show with her and engage with her about what is happening and ask her questions about it. When my middle son wants to come and tell me about everything that he just learned about a video game character or about a dinosaur cave that he just built in the playroom, I can either stare at a game on my phone while he's talking to me because I have absolutely no interest in what he is saying, or I can put it all down. I can make eye contact with him while he's speaking, and I can give him my undivided attention for just a couple of minutes while he's sharing something with me that he is excited about. It's the same with my oldest as well. Sometimes he wants to come and tell me about a comic book that he just read, and sometimes it's tempting to just stare at him blankly and just wait until he's finished talking, or I can listen and, engage in the story that he's telling to me and have a conversation about it. And I get it. It's really hard to do these things. I am not perfect by any means. There are times when I sit down and, I am just that warm body next to my children, but I have been trying to make the effort to be engaged in the things that they're interested in and to make sure they know that they matter to me, because if they're coming to me with these small things in their lives, I want them to build the relationship so that they can come to me with the big things in their lives. And I know that we all struggle in different areas. I know that we are all so busy and so stressed out, and we just want to check out at times. And, it is easy to just think that, just being in the home with our kids is enough. But it's not just that. Our kids need to know, that we value them and that we care for them. And if we're not even taking the time to teach them how to function in the world, they're not going to think that they're a valuable human being. They're not going to think that they're worth anybody's time if they're not worth their own parents' time. And I know that this is not like, a large percentage of the population that are not teaching their older kids to use the bathroom. But, I can just see on a wider scale how kids are being affected by the fact that we're just not focusing on them the way that we should be, and that we do rely on technology and all of these other things to keep their attention and essentially to raise them until they're old enough to function outside of the home on their own. And I think that is, we're just seeing it affect other areas of their lives, where parents are really just putting the responsibility on somebody else to do the hard work. And again, I'm not saying this to lecture anybody or to make it seem like I'm perfect or a better parent. I do my best not to judge any other parent, because I know we are all doing the best that we can. But there is a line in the sand. There is a limit to that understanding. And when it comes to things like not being potty trained or not being able to show even a baseline level of respect to your teachers, or whatever it is that that teachers in the world are expressing their concerns for, because there are so many parents that do seem to be dropping the ball, there's a level of attention that we need to pay to it, and to just remind ourselves to set a higher bar at times, even when it's hard. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your support. Hit that like button to boost my video in the algorithm, because as I have mentioned, YouTube is heavily suppressing voices that do not abide by their community standards. So every little bit helps. Also, if you feel so inclined, hit that little thanks button and support my channel through a small donation. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Bye.